Jared Easterling, what's going on, dude? It's so awesome to have you on Line Check again.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Part two. I'm doing pretty well as I can be with, all those circumstances going on right now. But yeah, life is good. Thanks for asking. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's a crazy time. It's a really crazy time with all that's been going down, and it's really affecting touring artists because we can't gather, we can't get in a venue together to watch some music. So you guys unfortunately had to cancel your North American headliner. I can't imagine how difficult that was. What are some challenges that came up? Like, what were some speed bumps as far as I guess rebooking those dates, and what's the plan going forward? What's that look like?
Yeah, it was scary. I'm a pretty relaxed guy. Sometimes that's to a fault. I didn't really worry enough when these things were starting to come about. I remember our singer Kirby kept saying how this could potentially affect the tour. It could cancel some shows, but the whole time I'm thinking, yeah, it might cancel one or two in different parts of the country, but as a whole, I don't think it's going to really affect the tour. But obviously that changed, and the tour got canceled, and it got postponed. Our booking agent had reached out to us that he was going to try to reschedule for the summer. Fortunately for us, we didn't have anything going on in the summer besides, I think, one festival. So he got it booked in 30 minutes, which was crazy. So,
oh wow,
yeah, we're very fortunate. I've seen a lot of bands that have just basically said it's going to be postponed, as soon as they can announce it, as soon as they can get it figured out. But for us, it got rebooked really quick. So we're fortunate to have a good booking agent that's been taking care of us and has been able to get that rescheduled.
So I saw a tweet. You guys were talking about how some of the merch you invested in for that tour. I mean, that's going to go unsold for the most part. But then I saw that you guys were trying to move some of it online. So how can viewers check that merch out, and how can they purchase it?
Yeah. So if anyone who's listening is curious on how we accumulated all of this debt. Basically how bands make money on tour is they sell merchandise. They sell t-shirts, hats, jackets, that kind of thing. That's bands' main source of income nowadays. And so we had to order a whole bunch of merch because we were trying to prepare for this, full US tour. And obviously the tour didn't happen. We played 5 shows, I believe it was, out of nearly 30. And so we had most of the merch left, unfortunately. So basically how you could help us would be to go onto our website, ffakmerch.com, and just pick up merch on the website. And most of that merch is from the tour we just did. We give it back to the merch company, and they're going to be selling it on there. So it sucks. It's an unfortunate situation. It's no one's fault. And that's the thing I had to keep telling myself, because we were the headlining band on this tour that we were just doing. So I feel responsible. The guys and myself feel responsible for these other bands losing out on, a way of living. But like I said, I just have to keep reminding myself, it's not your fault. Everyone's, having a hard time with this. But like I said, if you can go support us, if you can support Chelsea Grin, Crystal Lake, and Alpha Wolf, all these bands that were on our tour, as well as all these other bands' tours who were canceled, go online and buy some merch from them. That's the best way that you can help right now.
So of the lineup that you just mentioned as the supporting acts, are all of those bands going to be on the rebooking, or just some of them? What does that look like?
Yeah, fortunately, we have all the bands except for Crystal Lake. They already had a tour booked when we were able to reschedule this tour. So I say fortunately, we have at least 3 or 4 of the bands that are able to come back and do it. It definitely is a bummer that Crystal Lake isn't going to do it. But it is what it is. And it's hard to travel because they're all the way from Japan. It's hard to travel and reschedule things like that. So, but yeah, it'll be, we're still working on the second band. We have some ideas in mind, but it'll be us, Chelsea Grin, another band, and then Alpha Wolf will still open the tour.
Cool, man. So, I want to ask, just out of curiosity's sake, when you guys go and you order X amount of merch for a headliner like you had planned, what's stopping you from just sort of, I guess, like just sort of storing it until you go out for the set of dates that you have coming in the summer?
Yeah, that is an option. That is an option. We've done that a lot before. Some people will have merch shipped to them on tour, which is a very viable option. But it costs a lot of money to drop ship a lot of boxes like that. So what we were
Oh, okay.
trying to do, this is one of the first times we had done this. So we tried to just order all of it, or as much as we could that would fit in our trailer at one time, so that we didn't have to worry about paying for drop shipments or anything like that. Something that we could have done, and it's easier to see it in hindsight right now, but we could have left some of it at my house because we do play Dallas towards the middle of the tour. Um,
And you're like 2 hours from Dallas, right?
I'm about 1 hour. I live in Fort Worth.
About an hour.
Yeah, Kirby and I
Right on.
live right down the street from each other, and we're both in Fort Worth.
Right on.
Mm-hmm.
True, man. That's yeah, that's tough. That really sucks. Well, as you mentioned, the other bands are probably in like a similar situation. So, viewers at home, if you dig those bands and maybe you were already thinking about grabbing some merch for those shows, or you were gonna grab some merch at some point for any of those acts, definitely go and help them out at this point. Let's talk about something a little bit more positive. Let's jump into the new record. So we had a release come out the 13th.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the mindset going into the studio. So first off, who have you done this with? Is it Drew Folk again?
Yeah. So if anyone knows the history of our band, I don't know if they've put this together, but our band has never gone back to the same producer twice. And that's not something we're prideful in. It's just we haven't found our guy yet. But once we recorded the latest album, Dark Skies, we really had the best workflow and the best vibe. We communicated the very same way. So we think that we had our best album to date. So we went back into this next one. Earlier this year, we went back to Drew Folk and did the same one.
Is there a name for the record that you can tell us, or?
Can't talk about the title just yet, but we do have a name. It is done. I have a few final things I need to do on drums. But dude, hey, I wanted to say I saw your reaction video to Breaking the Mirror.
Hell yeah.
It got me pumped. Yeah. It's nice to watch a reaction video, particularly from someone who is a drummer and that can maybe understand some of the more specific things that I got to do with the drums on the album, and more specifically that song. So yeah, watching that reaction video was really cool, and thanks for doing it.
Of course, man. Absolutely. It was a really awesome song. Thanks for writing great music. One thing I noticed with that song, and one thing I noticed with that song is like being a fan of the band, listening to you guys, watching you play just on your Instagram, your YouTube, seeing you live. I felt like, as of the last record, but also now going into this new cycle, listening to that single, you have like you'd have a definite style about you. And listening to it, like right out of the gate, we get into the first verse, and you're doing that open hi-hat thing with the kicks every second bar, and it was just like very you. It was really cool.
Dude.
It was really cool to like
Hell yeah.
to recognize that, I guess, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a sick track.
It's cool to hear you say that, because that's what makes a band a band. You know what I mean? Like this particular guy, his style or this drummer style with this guitar player with the unique vocals of someone. It's cool that you can pick those out and tell that it is specifically me.
So going into the studio for this cycle, what was the mindset among? Well, I guess let's talk first about Daniel's in the band now instead of Bobby. So Daniel wasn't involved in Dark Skies at all, right?
So before we go into that, Bobby is still a member of the band.
Okay.
If anyone knows how Fit for an Autopsy works, Will Putney records, and he's like a producer, and that's his main gig. He just doesn't travel and tour. It's a very, very similar thing with Bobby. Bobby has 2 children and a wife, and so being away from them all the time was really stressful, and it was hard for him to not be there during some very important years of his children's life. So he chose to not tour anymore, which was a hard decision for him to make because he loves playing music. He loves the live aspect of playing music. So Bobby's still in the band. He just does not play shows anymore. But yeah, Daniel has been playing with us for about 2 years now. He is a member of the band. I don't know if that's something we've ever officially announced, but he's been touring with us for about 2 years now, and this is the first album that he will be on. He was not on Dark Skies. Even though he did come to the studio and he hung out with us, because he lives in California, probably about 40 minutes from where we record with Drew. But he was there for the entirety of this new album.
And what having like a new face in the studio? What was there adjustment, or did you guys mesh pretty quick? How did that go down?
Something I was a little concerned with, not in a negative way, just I was curious to see how it was going to go. Daniel, in every band he's ever played in, has been like the guy. He's written everything. He's basically steered the ship for their band in the studio. And to my knowledge, I don't know that he's ever taken the role that he was just in with us, which was, we have a good thing going in our heads. We think we have a decent thing going with the band and the direction that we knew we wanted it to go. And we wanted to basically use Daniel as a piece to that puzzle. You know, he's really good at writing guitar leads and riffs. He really does have cool vocals too. We did use that in the album. His voice is on the album, and I just wasn't sure how he was going to do with that. You know, kind of taking a back seat versus what he's used to. But he crushed it. He's a professional. Daniel has been signed to SolidState Records, I feel like, longer than we've even been a band. So he's a professional, and he handled everything awesome. Obviously, like, it's not all, you know, sunshine and roses in the studio. It's hard. There's pride to take into account. All of us have to like swallow some like feelings at some point. But no, it was great. I think that he added like the perfect amount of himself to this album and to this band.
Nice, man. Well, it's great to hear that you have another piece of the puzzle that fit so well. So when it came to when it came to involving Bobby as, I guess, like still a core songwriter on the project, does he sort of because of the family and everything, does he take time to come out to the studio, or does he do the like tracking remotely and send you guys stuff? How does that work?
Yeah, this is part of this is just my personal opinion, but I think he gets an itch. He gets an itch because he's been away for so long. He sees all of our posts online and sees how the tours are doing well, and we're having a blast playing music. So I think he sees all that, gets a really big itch to play and to be around us as friends. And so yeah, he came to the studio. He was in LA the whole time. There was one weekend, which in LA we are off every Saturday and Sunday. That's just how Drew works. So, yeah, there was one weekend where everyone flew home, except for me and Daniel, and we got to see their families and kind of like refresh. And so I think that was important for him to do that. But yeah, he was with us the whole time. It was great. It was great having him, like I said, not just as a songwriter, but as a friend. Again, like we don't get to see him too often because even when we're home, he's a busy guy. You know, him and his wife have a plant shop that they run. That's doing really well. So, yeah, he was there the whole time. It was great.
So, as far as the new record goes and like timeline, do you guys have an idea? I guess you probably can't say, but do you have an idea of when it's going to come out? And if you do, was there any sort of issues or delays because of everything that's gone down recently with COVID-19 and all the stuff that sort of cascaded into in the various different industries?
Yeah, we want to put it out hopefully sometime on the Parkway Drive tour, which is happening in late August, November. I'm sorry, August, September. I don't think we have an exact date yet. That's just what we would like to happen. And we weren't really affected at all by
by
the coronavirus. I think the only thing that potentially happened was we still have notes that we're sending Drew as far as mixing on the album goes, and there was something happening with quarantine in LA. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but we had to give all of our notes for the entire album. It was supposed to be done today, but we had to submit it I think 4 or 5 days ago because of something happening. I'm not sure what it was, but I mean, it expedited our notes to him by like 4 days, so it wasn't that big of a deal.
So when you go into a tour where you know that you're going to be dropping that album, what does like planning the set list look like as far as including new songs? And do you start playing them right out the gate without the record being released, or is it maybe like you prioritize some singles because they're already out? Like, what's the mindset there?
Which tour were you talking about?
You mentioned that on the Parkway tour, you're going to be dropping the new album.
Yeah, so I don't imagine it'll be out at the beginning of that tour. I'm really not sure yet. That would determine a few things. And that's a good question, like of what songs we should play. We're opening that tour. We'll probably only be able to play 7 songs. That's really going to cut down on what we're even able to do. You know, I imagine we'll play 2 or 3 from the new album.
So probably like the singles that we're going to see over the next couple of months?
Yeah, I think so.
I know I'm prying. Maybe you don't have the answers at this point.
Yeah, I just don't know yet. We haven't talked about the set for that tour. You know, we could put out a single and a person or a lot of people don't like one of the specific singles. So then we could think, okay, well, people don't like this one as much. We won't play this live. Yeah, who knows yet? Or they could be everyone's favorite song. A lot of that's pending on what people think.
How have you guys felt with this latest release? How have you felt with the feedback from your audience, from your fans?
From the new single?
Yeah, from Breaking the Mirror.
It's exactly how I expected it to go. I think that the people who don't like it, which it really hasn't been many people from what I've seen, but I haven't been on Reddit, so Reddit's a little scary.
Stay away from that, dude.
No, I don't take anything to heart. I don't take people saying that we're the worst or we're the best ever to heart. I think it's important to receive things like that the right way. But no, I think people that have not been stoked on it are the people that really like the heavier things from our band. And that's okay. Like there's plenty of heavy stuff on this album. It's not like every song is like Breaking the Mirror. You know, that one was more like The Price of Agony, but a little bit more radio friendly. That's what we were going for at least. And the people that don't like that side of our band, of course that they're going to not be stoked on that song.
There's been a lot of releases in the last year that have received mixed sort of reviews. I guess just mixed because of what you're talking about, from the standpoint of like bands will go in one direction and then the audience wants to see a heavier sound because that's what they're accustomed to, kind of thing. So I saw some of that related to this track, and I thought it was kind of silly personally because like I'm a fan of you guys and I just don't think that it's really like going into doing my reaction the other day, I thought, okay, this is going to be super radio from what I've heard, but it was not even like, it was still a heavy Fit for a King song. Well, we had breakdowns, we had guitar solos, we had pitch screams in the verses. So I don't know.
Yeah, when I say radio version, I mean like it's still our band. We're not saying, oh, this is what radio does, let's do this. We're thinking like, okay, like let's write a Fit for a King song, but just maybe add a little bit more melody here, or like, add little things, but we're not changing our sound for anyone else. Another thing that some people I think would be good to understand is this is just with any band. This is not just with our band, but you know how some people say, oh, I like this first album better from this band, I like this record better. Well, with bands, you're hearing a version of themselves at a certain moment, at a certain window. This band, these people went through this during this time and they wrote about it. And this is how they expressed it when they were 17, when they were 20. But when they're 25 to 29, they've went through a lot of different things, different from when they were younger. And they expressed themselves differently at that age as well. So I get how you can prefer an earlier album or a different album. But I think it would be fake to just try to replicate how you were at 17 versus now. You're expressing who you are now, and you're writing the music that you can really be yourself in, and I think that we still like the music we put out, Creation Destruction, and we like Death Grip, and we like Slave to Nothing. Sure, those albums hold a different place in our heart, but we're just being ourselves, and we think that we're in our heads, we're making the right moves and doing things because we like it. But opinion, we think that the music is getting better.
That's just a really fantastic way of looking at it. So that sparks the question right away in my mind. Where do you feel? And I guess we kind of covered this already, but going in depth here, where do you feel like you guys are writing from? Like, what's the standpoint for this record that you're writing from, and how did you get to this place?
Sure. You mean lyrically?
Lyrically, but also instrumentally to some degree.
Okay, I can't speak as much lyrically because I don't really have a hand in writing lyrics anymore. I think Kirby and Tuck and Bob helps a lot too sometimes on vocals. But speaking on that, I guess this record is more of a victory feeling, more triumphant, more positive, versus Dark Skies was coming from more of an emotional place and sad darkness, which is something that we all deal with. But this album is more uplifting than the last several albums, and I'm sure you can hear that when you hear the new single "Breaking the Mirror." Just feels more uplifting and more positive. But musically, something that we do with we've done the past few albums at least is we'll look at how the last album was received, and we look at which songs do the best. And we really try to diagnose why people liked those the most, and we try to basically make a better version of that. So when we entered the studio for this new album, we noticed that there was a massive difference between the more popular songs from Dark Skies and songs that really didn't do as well when it came to streaming and that kind of thing. So we noticed that a couple songs like "The Price of Agony," "When Everything Means Nothing," "Backbreaker," like those were definitely the biggest songs from that album. So we wanted to go into this new album and think, okay, let's go that same direction, but just do a better job at writing songs. You know, we don't think that they're bad songs, but we think that we can keep doing better and we can keep creating better versions of ourselves. But let's pinpoint those type of songs when doing this next album. And you're going to definitely get songs from "When Everything Means Nothing" to "Backbreakers." There's very heavy songs on this album. Yeah, there's going to be a very heavy single that we're going to release that will kind of ease some people's minds that heard "Breaking the Mirror" and they're like, "Oh, they're pop now," but like it's just not going to happen. You know, we love heavy music.
So you mentioned 3 specific tracks that you kind of used, I guess, to build off of. What of those 3 tracks, "Price of Agony," "Backbreaker," and I can't remember the other one you said?
"When Everything Means Nothing."
Yes, thank you. Of those 3 tracks, going forward and building on that sound, what are some things that you felt you guys could like improve on from those songs, and then going into like new material sort of based on that?
Well, I think with those songs specifically, not Backbreaker. I think Backbreaker is a type of song that we don't have a problem writing songs like that. We don't struggle to put those things together. I think if anything on Backbreaker, the chorus in that song, it's like a screaming chorus. It's kind of like it's intended for everyone to scream along with it. That was figured out in the studio, so we wanted to do things like that for this new album. We definitely did. But it's just it's an ass beater of a song. You know what I mean? It's just really heavy. It's supposed to punch you in the face. And we know that people associate those kind of songs with "Fit for a King." So we made sure to keep those elements. Those are important for our band, and they feel great, dude. I mean, it feels awesome to go to the gym and listen to a song that sounds like freaking chopping down trees, you know?
Oh yeah.
So
yes, sir.
That's a reason for Backbreaker. Another song, the Price of Agony. I think a good example would be "Breaking the Mirror." That's an evolution from the Price of Agony, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, 100%.
You can hear the same band out of it, but you also see a progression. And I wouldn't say progression as in like, oh, this is. I know everyone won't agree that, oh, this song is so much better. It's like night and day difference. But you can see the band evolve a little bit into. It's just a more metal version, and we definitely have a few "When Everything Means Nothing." That was a weird way to say it.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We definitely use Tuck in this album. That's a question people ask about because Kirby has been doing more and more vocals. He's finding new things about his voice that he can do. and we're definitely using those elements in the newer songs. But yeah, Tux sings in this album. He's got a great soulful voice. He sings typically in the lower register. He does that better than Kirby, I believe. So we definitely want to have his voice in there. It's cool. It's cool to have him, and it's nice to use him when we think it's necessary in the songs. But yeah, we definitely approach this new album with emphasis on those type of songs, and we think that we did a great job. We added new things that we've never added before. Like I said, we have Daniel's voice in the album, and you probably don't even know what he sounds like, but
No idea.
but I kind of don't want to say anything because when you hear it, it'll be extremely obvious.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Would you say the same about would you say the same about Tuck and what you've been, because he's been singing live this whole time essentially, right? Like he's been backing up Kirby.
Yeah, Tuck has been singing since Slave to Nothing on the record and live.
Oh wow. I didn't even put that together. I didn't know that. I thought it was Kirby. It was just layered kind of thing.
No. Well, that's a great point that you just made. Like you were asking if we're going to be able to tell. There have been parts where it's hard to tell if it's Kirby or Tuck. I think part of that was the recording, and part of it was just the part they were singing was in a tone of their voice that it could kind of go either way. But yeah, when Daniel sings in this certain part, it's extremely obvious. No one else can do it. So
Nice. Well, super excited.
yeah.
So you mentioned that we're gonna get another single, and it's gonna be heavier. How many singles do you guys? Maybe you don't know this at this point, but how many singles do you guys have planned to drop before we get the full record?
We just had this conversation yesterday in a group chat, kind of figuring out what songs we want to be the singles. I can't answer all of that because of a few things, but I will say, let me clarify some things. So specifically with Spotify, if bands release singles, there's an equation that helps them out more financially. So if we were to never release any single and then just drop the album, it doesn't give Spotify incentive to pay us some money that we could make if we put out singles. So it's a tactic we do not only to promote our band, but it helps us, create more revenue by releasing singles. And I know some people don't like that, but we have to look out for what's best for ourselves and our band. And we won't release like 6 singles or anything like that, but we definitely will, I imagine, at least 4.
Oh, wow. Nice. Mm-hmm. I mean, like there's examples, honestly, right now, there's examples of bands who have just completely given up on records, and like they're touring, they're like naming tours after, I think Falling in Reverse is an example of this, where they're just dropping singles every so many months, and then they're naming tours after it, like part 1. I think that's what Ronnie's done with Falling. So it's like it's definitely not uncommon, and you see more and more of that sort of mindset in pop. And I guess it's because of what you're speaking to from like I guess just like a better financial system when it comes to Spotify and streams and stuff like that.
Yeah, I didn't know that Falling in Reverse did that, but I know that Five Finger Death Punch puts out a ton of singles, and it seems to work for them. They don't really do albums. The first person I think about when I think about someone who does singles, or I guess I wouldn't say person, just a genre, would be pop. Yeah. A lot of pop artists don't put out albums. They just do singles. Drake is a good example. Doesn't put out albums too often. And if he does, his emphasis is on the singles. So there's not as much risk. Like if you're a consumer listening to a song for the first time, and it's not awesome, you're not going to say, "Oh, this person's terrible. Their music is awful now." But if they put out a whole album to where it's all like that kind of song and you don't like it, it's a lot more risky. It's a lot riskier to put out a song or a full album than a song. And if it could go the other way, if the song is amazing, you're not going to say, "Oh, like," or you could say this band's amazing and like I love them the most now, and that would help you out. Versus, the band losing all credibility for just one song.
if you're putting out more singles and you're kind of going that route, like you drop a single and you have like direct feedback as to, you know, how it's received, and like what it's going to do for you. And then you can base the next song off of like that right there. But if you commit to a whole record, then you might have like one song that sticks out and blows the hell up. And then all of the other songs were taken in a different direction, thinking that the song that is sort of acting as an outlier wasn't really intentionally going to do that, but then it does by, I guess, happenstance from the standpoint of just like, you know, people take it and run with it, right?
You're 100% right. Yeah.
Okay, I had another question about breaking the mirror. Just out of curiosity, why wasn't there a music video released with the single, and will we see a music video for this track down the line?
I don't know if we'll do a music video for this song. Potentially. We have ideas for other songs to have music videos. That's a good question. I don't think we've even talked about doing a video for this song, for Breaking the Mirror.
So what is it about a song that inspires you guys to make a video for it?
I think one thing would be it encompasses a very important part of the album. It encompasses a very important feel or sound or emotion that'll say, okay, this song right here, blank, this song is a very important footprint in the album. I don't want to say that Breaking the Mirror isn't important, because it is important, but I don't know if it's going to be people's favorite song or not.
Is the choice to do a video for a song mostly because of the way fans receive it, or is it mostly because of the way you guys perceive each track? You know what I'm saying?
I would say, yeah, it's the way we perceive a track, or what the label may think is appropriate. But here, an example will be like if the song does really well, you could look at it 2 different ways. One, it doesn't need a music video if it's already doing well without the extra push of a video. Another thing would to be last album, or I'm sorry, 2 albums ago, the song Death Grip was not a single. It grew in popularity. It started streaming a lot better, you know, towards the middle of the cycle. And so we decided to do a music video for that one later on. But at that point, there wasn't extra money put into it as a single. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it could be a music video song. Do you think it should be?
I don't know. That's a great question to ask for me, I guess. It was a really great song. I could totally see a music video for it. I mean, music video. Okay, so in all the reaction videos that I do here on the channel, I always like, my favorite music video is when it's mostly performance, because I just want to watch the band play.
Yeah.
So if I could get for every track just a basic ass music video, like, you know, the sort of like entry level low budget music video where it's just like a cool setting, maybe a couple little light figures, and then the band playing. If I could see that for all the tracks, I mean, that just like. That's all I need. I don't need story. I don't need production.
Yeah.
So yeah, more the merrier when it comes to that. But then at the same time, it's like it's cool to incorporate, I guess, a balance in a video of the story and the live performance, especially for this genre. Like something for me as a fan, something that I don't. Well, I guess I'm a musician, so this is a little biased. But for me, when I watch videos that are just 100% story based, and we don't get to see the drummer, we don't get to see the bass player. Maybe there's the vocalist, maybe there's not. I don't connect with it on the same level. I don't know. Maybe you can relate to that.
I hear that 100%. I'm the same way. Not only am I a drummer in a band, but I'm a consumer of music. So when I watch music videos as well of some of my favorite bands, I definitely have that same feeling. Sometimes I need to see them physically play the drums, or physically, you know, the camera on them as they're singing the notes. That's where you connect. You put a face to a voice. You know, you put a face to the person holding the drumsticks. That's important to me, and I think that's important to a lot of people. But at the same time, we did a music video on a song from the last album called Oblivion, and it did have some full band shots, but I don't know if you saw that one, but the song is about, like, you know, an abusive parent, and the whole thing is like you need the B-roll, you need the storyline to see, to first off, so you understand exactly what we're talking about, but secondly, so it can portray, you know, in depth to how the lyrics are supposed to be meant.
You know what? That brings up another question. I just thought of talking off of that. What's the criteria in a song that makes you guys feel like it needs B-roll? I know you kind of just answered that, but like, what? I guess what specific is it about more like literal concepts, or is it about more like I guess like vague and abstract concepts that you're trying to, I guess, like clarify or pinpoint? So what inspires you to add the B-roll, the storyline to a music video?
I guess I'll take a step back here and tell you how it works for us with music videos. We've been working with the same guy named Kevin Johnson for the past, I don't know, 6 videos now. And the way it's worked with him is we figure out a song that we want to do a music video for. We send him the song and say, hey, send us a treatment. You know, we send him the lyrics and everything like that. And he'll basically, how he interprets the song with the lyrics is what he'll start writing to and what he'll start coming up with ideas for. And like we want his creativity in the video as well, because he's a super smart guy, and not only does he have the ideas of what we could do, but he is great at actually accomplishing those things and making them happen. So once he sends us a treatment back, we can easily say, no, this is terrible, or yes, this is super cool. And I mean, most of the time it's cool, but after he sends us the treatment, we can then go in and talk with him and say, okay, let's try this with your idea. Let's do this instead of this one little part here. And we kind of like work with each other on that. But for the most part, he does his thing, because that's a different style of art. You know, we create music. We're not music video enthusiasts and know how to do that sort of thing. I'm sure there are some guys in bands that do that. I know that is it Daniel Davidson, the old drummer of Under Oath? I think he does music videos, or did at one point.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no one in our band knows how to do that sort of thing. So we leave it to someone who does it professionally, someone that we get along with. And I would also relate Kevin, the music producer, to Kevin, our music video producer, to our music producer, which would be Drew Falk. That they both communicate with us in our same language, and we really like working with them. So, but yeah, Kevin is great, man. He comes up with really good ideas. So we leave a lot up to him versus just us deciding this is what happens here, this is what happens here.
I want to talk about some drum stuff,
okay,
because I'm interviewing a drummer and we haven't even talked about the drums
yet.
So something that I can't remember if we covered it last time or not, but something I want to talk about is just some of like your daily practice rituals and some things you do at the kit. I guess the first thing would be like, do you have a daily warm up, and like what would that look like?
I have gone through different warm ups. Trying to think of the time frame that I was doing this. This was probably a year ago. I was doing this warm up that was just supposed to build speed, and that's where I'll start with this. Is where do you want to get better at? Because you need to have a goal before you even need to do that. Because I'll speak for myself. If I'm trying to get faster, then I need to do warm ups that will warm me up the correct way in order to work on speed. So for a while there, I was playing to a metronome. There's an app on your phone. It's free, and I would do basically 8 on each hand. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, just over and over to the certain tempo, and then the tempo would speed up, and then I would basically do the same thing until I was hanging on, but I would notice myself getting faster, and so that to me was a warm up, but it was also a speed builder. There is that's a warm up I was doing for a while there. I haven't really warmed up lately. You know, if anything, I'll just sit down and get the blood flowing. You know, on this tour that just got canceled, I had one of those DW practice pad kits that would be in the green room.
Yes. Hell yeah. I talk about those all the time. I
oh
love them.
Yeah, they're cool. I had just gotten one. I've only played on it 5 times now, but yeah, it's cool. It just helps. It helps physically play the parts, even though it's not on a drum set. You're still hitting the pads, and it feels very similar to playing a kit. And yeah, I would just basically start playing through a couple of the songs. I put some headphones in and play along to some of our songs so it can get the muscle memory ready to go. But for me, the thing I've needed to practice with the most is just some of my footwork. I would get tired on some of the simpler parts, and I couldn't figure out why for the longest time. I thought it was at my shoes and my slipping. You know what's crazy is like, I'm taking my shoe off right now. Look at these things. They're shot. It's not your shoes. That's not why you're not playing well. It was it's for me, it was just I wasn't playing enough when I was home. I wasn't like putting in intense work to my feet every day. It wasn't happening enough. So like then I wouldn't understand how I couldn't play parts intensely for a long time during the set. You know what I mean? I wasn't preparing with the same mindset that I have live. So how can I expect myself to be able to play that intense live if I wasn't rehearsing that way? So that helped me tremendously. I would come home and before a tour, before the last couple of tours, I was putting myself through a boot camp. You know, I was playing the entire set with a ton of energy, and I would have to be mentally strong so that I could build myself physically and be physically strong enough to play the set all the way through, and not physically set to where I'm like, I don't have to be yoked. You know what I mean? I just have to be in drumming shape, which is completely different than working out. You know, you're working out those muscles. And something I was listening to the other day was about this guy talking about your long stride muscles and your quickness muscles. Those are two different things and two different things to activate. So going back to how I was talking about earlier with what do I want to get out of warming up? Well, at the moment I was trying to get speed. So I was focusing on those quick muscles, and I was trying to build those up to where I could use them on the kit. So yeah, it's a lot about your intention.
The biggest question you see most when it comes to this genre and newer drummers is always something to do with footwork and speed.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do to get to the point where you're at, and then now how do you maintain it? Because you mentioned how you go through different warm-ups.
Mm-hmm.
Just putting the warm-ups aside and like looking at, I guess, more like just exercises and structuring practices, but not just now for tours, but earlier on. How did you really develop the footwork and get to the point where you're at now?
It's a great question. I would say the thing that I can definitely pinpoint, because I've asked myself this question so many times. Oh, I used to be faster. I used to do this, and it felt so natural. So I put a lot.
Yes, exactly. Me too.
I put a lot of effort and thought or mind power into figuring this out, and a lot of it, and I would say the majority of it, is time. You sit down, you play the drums, and you work on your feet. You just play, you know, and obviously it's an important thing to know what to play, but like that right there, before you even get to what to play, I think that's where a lot of us don't put the time in. We just kind of like, we play for a second, it gets hard, so then we go back to playing what we're very comfortable playing, which doesn't really help. It just makes you more comfortable in your head. It makes you think, oh, okay, I am a good drummer. But the guys who, you know, I guess rise above that and constantly are working on these foot techniques and working on, like, for me, it's endurance. It's just being able to play at the same volume the entire set. That just takes effort. It just takes you doing it. You know what I mean? And it sounds so simple, but I just, after talking with so many people about what they do and like just even giving drum lessons, I can tell, like, I can tell that if I follow up with, hey, like how have you been practicing this week? How have you been doing? And it's important to be honest, but I don't feel like everyone's putting in the time that they need. Like all these professionals are putting in hours a day. It's like their job.
Like 8-10 hours sometimes.
I've
It's
heard
crazy.
of people doing that, and like,
Yeah.
and
Garska is an example of that I heard about recently, and it blew my mind. I was like, Jesus, 8 hours on the drums. I do like
okay, so this
like
is no knock.
3 sometimes.
This is no knock to
Sorry,
them
go
or
ahead.
any other professional, but like, I'm thinking to myself, no wonder they're so good. Like they practice so
Yeah.
much, and obviously, it's not like
Yeah,
anyone
exactly.
who practices that much can be a Matt Garska because he's a freak of a drummer and like in the best way possible. You know,
Oh
there
yeah,
are
for sure.
I think that not everyone has rhythm, so there are things that come with Matt Garska to where he can be to the level that he's at, but he's put in the work, and that's something that not everyone is willing to do. I think a lot of people would prefer to just be a keyboard warrior and just say, "Oh, you're terrible at this, you're terrible at that." That's fine. Like,
yeah.
it's
like, where's your video?
but where's your? I mean, yeah, that's what I'm thinking in my head. But I don't want to. I don't want to stoop down to them. I don't want to be like them. I want to just.
Yeah.
I mean, there are moments. There are moments where I'm just like, I want to lay into you right now. I want to tell you what I'm thinking. But that's not the person I want to be. So I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to exit out of here.
So what do you find are certain things maybe you do intentionally or just that come your way that really help you grow your creativity? Like, is it maybe you practice a new rudiment and then you find that coming out in your fills, or is there like maybe it's just writing or something? What's up with that?
I don't want to say I learn new rudiments, but learning how to put them on the kit definitely shapes the way I write. If I write like a paradiddle is a very common rudiment. If I learn that the last two rights are on like the floor tom versus like I always had them on the snare, and it totally shapes the way that I would feel towards this whole section of a song, that kind of thing. Then that whole feel can be added to a whole nother song in general. Do you know what I mean? So just moving your hands and having different hits, like having different portions of the hit according to the rudiment. I'm not explaining this super well, but moving your hands around during rudiments, it creates new things in your head. It creates new ideas, and whether the paradiddle was the right thing for the feel that it created in your head, it doesn't matter, because that creation in your head is where, oh, okay, like let me try this instead. This is, I think, what I was hearing in my head. You know what I mean? So you just try different things. But a lot of it does come down to different rudiments that I'm into at the moment, or something that even I heard on the radio. Like, let's say I heard a really cool drum fill, and I try to play it, and it's nothing like that was on the radio, because you just start to, and then that's your own thing. Then you created that, but it was stemmed from a cool idea that you heard somewhere else. Yeah. I don't listen to a ton of metal. I do love it. I love listening to heavy stuff. I just think I don't know. I'm not impressed with a ton of metal right now. So
why is that?
I don't know. I find myself going back to older albums recently.
Too. Yeah, me too. I don't know either. Maybe it's like, I don't know. It could just be us. Like a lot of, I've heard in the past, like musicians talk about the psychology of like when you really develop your taste being in like the early teens, from like 12 to 14 or 15 or something like that. Like that's when you really, whatever you're listening to at those times, really sort of embed in you specifics that are going to carry through your taste as you grow up. So maybe it's just that, you know, we're aging and we have a taste from, you know, a certain era of metal, and it just prevents us from, I guess, getting into the change of the times or something. I don't know. But maybe at the same time, it's just, I don't know, not enough bands writing good stuff or something. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. I think I definitely was influenced by a band when I was younger called Seosin, drum wise. And the drummer had a lot of hand speed. He was really, really faster on the toms, really cool hi-hat work. And Fit for a King, it does have that stuff. I think even Breaking the Mirror, our newest song, you can hear some like Seosin influenced hand speed in that song. but also like it's important that we have a lot of double kick. That's important for our band, and that's something that
Yep.
I've been on a roller coaster ride with, with being really good at it, me feeling like I was not good at it, being good at it. And I think I've finally found that practicing, being consistent with it, not coming home from tour and not playing double kick. I think doing that has like evened me out, and it just like it puts the pressure on me to be like, okay, like if I want to be good, if I want to have fun on this tour and play well, I'll practice, I'll rehearse, and I'll make sure that it's important to me,
Yeah. So how many going into a tour, coming off a tour in the downtime, and then getting ready for the next run? How many hours a day are you at the kit, and what is it that you're doing? Are you doing exercises or primarily just running through the set?
So I need 2 weeks before a tour starts. I need 2 weeks to play our set. I need to rehearse it. I need to know the songs up and down. I don't need to be learning the songs at band practice with all the guys. That time is to just play what you already know with everyone so that you're all on the same page. But yeah, I need 2 weeks of rehearsing. Before that, I have fun. I play, I do some of these playthroughs on Instagram. I record it into my computer and like kind of like process the sound. For me, that's like a video game. I'm enhancing the sound and making it sound great. To me, that's cool. I can, waste days doing that. So I'll just play to anything. Sometimes I reimagine our own band's stuff and I don't know, put my own spin to my own song, which is kind of sounds redundant. But yeah, I do a bunch of different stuff. Sometimes I go back to the basics and just will rehearse like a super simple beat, but try to make it sound absolutely perfect. I think that's something that's it's fun to do, even though it kind of sounds dull. Sometimes I work on. I mean, even I was setting this kit up today. I had some of it broken down, but I was thinking to myself, I don't even own a single pedal. Like I only own double pedals. I have like 6 double pedals at my house.
Yeah.
But I don't own a single, so I was thinking maybe it would be good to take the left slave pedal off and not have to worry about it, not have to like rely on that left pedal to do cool things. So I think if anything it would be just challenging myself to. I mean, there's no China on my kit right now. Little things like that is how can you respond if certain things are not part of your kit?
Yeah.
And I'm making it fun.
Yeah,
I don't want to make it like a chore for me to have to do this. It's fun. Like this is drums. Like it kind of feels weird that I have to tell myself that sometimes, that you're playing the drums, like you're doing something that is a hobby. And this is great. Like I love doing this, and I love doing it when I feel great about playing. So how do you feel great about playing? You rehearse and you play. You get the reps in.
Yeah.
You can't be rusty.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Especially an instrument as physical as drums. Like you can't take it for granted. You have to like make sure that you're sharp, both body and mind, and like you maintain that. Because I mean, I don't know, like you were saying earlier about like being at a point in your playing where you're looking at yourself and you're like, man, I know I was faster and I could do this. What the hell happened?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a lot of the time it's just because you're working at it maybe, but there's certain things that you're just neglecting and you didn't realize it, and then your playing starts to sort of I guess not fall apart, but get worse in certain areas for sure. And it just comes down to that like athlete mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right.
And then another thing I want to mention is like the single foot's something for me. I'm having like the exact same mid-playing crisis or something like that. Like I'm realizing that a lot of like the choppy fills that I do just in my own practice and around the kit and experimenting with stuff, a lot of the stuff that's like really fast and fun for me always incorporates two pedals. And then I watch players like Annika Niles or Eric Moore, like these crazy chop drummers with just a single pedal, and they're moving around the kit so fluently, but they don't have the second to create that, like, you know, right left on the hands, right left on the feet feel. And it's like, how are they doing that? So that's something for me too that like I've started to do recently, where I've just take the slave pedal off and I'm like, okay, figure out how to, you know, land some linear fills that sound good and sound fast, without that sort of, I guess, not crutch, but without that assistance of the left leg.
I'd call it a crutch. It's definitely a crutch to me. One thing is that if you were to hear just his foot, just Eric Moore's kick drum foot, his we'll call them diddles, when he does two at once, it's so fast and it's so consistent. But he does that so much that he's built this technique and built this strength in his foot and in his calf that becomes second nature. And that's not second nature to us. What's second nature is doing the right left on the right foot and left foot, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, because that's something for me. I can't do a double on my foot, even close, like just on right, even close to the speeds that I can get up to, of course, with two legs.
Right. Yeah, but how much time have you put in to both of those? To the using?
Oh, as soon as I got the double kick, I was like, forget about this.
Exactly.
I have a left leg now. We're fine.
Exactly.
Yeah, no time at all.
Yeah, I remember getting messed up mentally. This is probably like 6 years ago. We toured with a band called Gideon, and Jake Smelly is an insane drummer. He plays for that band, and he would hit really hard on the kick, and I don't feel like I did hit soft, but I didn't hit nearly as hard as him. And I remember trying to kind of switch the way I thought about playing the kick drum, and I was hitting harder like him, probably still not as hard as him, but then it would mess with me mentally as far as how fast I was able to go, because I wouldn't feel like, oh, well, if I'm hitting this velocity, this doesn't count as a kick drum hit anymore. It's like not hard enough. So then I would try to play harder and play faster, and it just wasn't working for me, and I became really bad at playing double kick. So I think it's important to be mentally strong when you're playing and to be prepared, you know. So I'm not obviously not blaming him for me being bad, but just watching how good that he played and him using his own technique. I tried to kind of be like that, and it didn't work for me, and it sucked for a while. But I found out what does work for me and have been practicing with those techniques.
Okay, so gear-wise, we did a breakdown in the first video, so I don't want to go over everything that you got. If you guys want to check out the first interview that Jared and I did, you can check the description below. There'll be links to that, as well as links to a lot of the other stuff that we've talked about in this episode, so definitely go check all that out. But putting that aside, I want to talk about equipment specifically going into this new record. So has there been a change-up in maybe the cymbal set or maybe the drum kit at all when recording these new songs?
Yeah. We used a lot bigger kit on this album. There are 3 rack toms and 2 floor toms.
Oh my God,
that's the biggest difference. So
yeah,
it was the Navigator kit, but we used like I said, we just used more drums. It was an 8, 10, 12. I'm sorry, we didn't use an 8. It was a 10, 12, 13, 16. And then we used that gong drum, the UFO. That was definitely a different approach. I didn't plan on using that at first, but some of these songs, I think, definitely benefit from having a bigger kit like that. I've always loved the sound of a 10-inch rack tom too. The way that it cuts through in the mix, just it sounds like they sound like stadium toms, if that makes any sense. And I'm stoked. You didn't really hear them on Breaking the Mirror. But
yeah, I never would have guessed.
I'm trying to think. You'll hear them on one of the singles, and when I say you'll hear them, the right fills, the right drum fills, are appropriate for those kind of for that kind of setup.
Gotcha. So so you went in not planning to do that. How did that even come about? Like who brought it up, and then how'd you go about, I guess, hooking up that equipment sort of in the studio, and then that kind of stuff?
We do all the demoing all in the computer. So I'm writing drums out MIDI, which if there's anyone out there that doesn't know what MIDI drums are, it just in the computer you can basically create fake drum sounds by kind of like writing it into the computer. And the purpose for doing that is you can write ideas down and it still sounds like a real drum kit's being played. You can write ideas down, and if you want to change a part, you just kind of just like erase it and write a different drum fill or something like that. And it's great. It's great for saving time, and it's great for hearing your idea come to life without having to go in there and physically play it and then delete that and set everything up. You know what I mean? It's just, so we discovered it that way. I think Drew had written some computer drums with an extra tom, and I was like, let's add another one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it kind of came about like that. I think because of that, I want to, by the end of our new album cycle, by the end of this cycle, I want to be touring with 2 kick drums, 3 rack toms, and 2 floor toms.
Hell yeah. You're going headliner kit. You're going
I'm going to go full psycho. Yeah.
Nice. Perfect.
I may even do a drum rack. That's how crazy I'm feeling.
Perfect. I love it. That's so awesome.
Yeah, we use the Navigator Kit, which is just a black satin stain. No, it's a black satin espresso midnight stain. It's a maple kit. Kick drum was just 1822 standard. Yep. We used a different snare though. A buddy of mine actually gave me a custom snare drum that he designed, and it's maple, but it's a 20 ply maple, and it's about almost 6 inches deep. It's not deep at all, but it's the snare that I used on one of the last tours, and we were so shocked by how good it sounded that we had to track with it.
Is it louder because of the extra ply?
I wouldn't say it's louder. It just has the best tone.
Gotcha.
And even more specifically, it sounds great to me. Like as I'm sitting atop of the snare playing it, it sounds good acoustically. But something about the way the microphone picks up this drum just sounds amazing. So, we use this one. Like I said, it's just a maple. It's got like a this massive air vent in it too. It's got to be like, I don't know how big it is, but it's massive.
So you mentioned 2 kicks. You said that's something that you want to have going on. I know that for a while you have been touring with the second kit on and off, depending on the size of the venue. When you say you want to have 2 kits in the future, is that going to be more of a look thing and then run a double pedal, or are you going to do 2 single pedals on 2 separate bass drums?
Yeah. So in the past, it's all been lies. It's all been faking.
Yeah, but
like I've been using two kick drums, but only using using a single pedal, and that was just for look. I think it looks sick, but I wasn't playing the second one. But if we do this other way, I want to be able to play both of them. So, and the biggest problem I run into with that is when you're playing, or even when I was using a dummy kick drum for my left kick, it was hard to get my hi-hat stand somewhere in there to where the hi-hat wasn't too far away. But fortunately, I bought the cable hi-hat mount. So if I do end up doing exactly what I want to do, I'll play both kicks with the real pedals here, and then I'll still put the hi-hat stand here. It'll be cabled, so there's no like leg running up. It's just the foot of the hi-hat stand, and the cable will run and it'll connect to part of the drum rack here. So I'll have it exactly where I want it. It won't be too far away, which has been a problem in the past. And I'll just rock 2 kick drums. I'll still have my cable hi-hat. Everything will be probably more comfortable than it is now.
Yeah, I feel like that's what you have to do with the 2 kicks, because like there's always, I feel like when I talk to guys about this, there's always two reasons why I see dummy, and the dummy is super common, right? Like I guess like half the time when you see it live,
Yeah.
you're not playing both, and it's always the same two reasons. One is the
Right.
hi-hat, that's always a big one, and then the other is like if you're running just acoustic and you're not blending with the trigger or nothing, then it's always tough getting both of them dialed in and maintaining that through like changing conditions and different venues and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to keep both of those drums
Yeah.
to sound the exact same, you know? And it's just a lot more work. It's a lot more equipment. Like if especially if you don't trigger, you have to have, you know, double the microphones. Double thing can go wrong. More cables, that kind of thing, which is doable for sure. A lot of bands that run two kick drums and play two kick drums, they use all that stuff. But yeah, even we trigger. I only play one kick drum, but I'm triggering that kick drum. But I'm using the trigger portion just for the snap, just for like that initial tick sound, if you will. And the rest of the drum, all the body, the low end, the depth, that's all from a blended microphone, a Beta 91 that is Kelly shoed, which is like, it looks like a spider's web that holds the microphone right in the inside of the kick drum, right behind the drum head. So if this was the head, this is my kick pedal. The microphone's held right here by that spider web mount. And we blend those so that you can hear the consistency of the snap from the trigger, but you also hear like the majority of the drum sound coming from the Beta 91 on the inside of the kick.
And would that be the same approach with adding the second?
If we add the second one like I want to do, I'll have the exact same setup in both kicks. Two 91s with the Kelly shoe mount, and then I'll run a trigger on both.
The triggering too, like the trigger blend, I feel like in the last like 10 years, maybe less than that, but is so common now, and it sounds so damn good live. Like you get the warmth of the shell, and then the trigger gives you that attack that you need to cut through the guitar wall, right? Because like without it, it's really difficult to get that same tone that we're used to hearing on records and get that live and actually have it cut, right?
Yeah, and a very common misconception about triggering is first off, I think a lot of people use the word cheating, or, oh, he plays that because he has triggers. First and foremost, when someone triggers, there's nothing to hide behind anymore. Every single tap on the drum, you're hearing out front and in your face. And that could be a bad thing if you're a bad drummer, you know? So it exposes a lot of things. It exposes some mishits, and it exposes like how clean you're actually playing. So a bad drummer should not be using triggers. It's used as a mixing tool, not as like oh, he can't play this, so he uses triggers. Just to I guess clarify that for some people.
I feel like what you're addressing to is it's definitely a common misperception, but the guys who stick to the kit and get into the later years really start to understand that, especially if you've messed around with triggers before, because what you're talking about is exactly true. Like you don't even realize it till you put a trigger on the kick, that like if you're resting your foot and you aren't playing the kick drum, but you push the beater into the head just to hold it against the head, that can cause that indication in the trigger to trigger the velocity to hit. And like there's so many little things that if you're not disciplined, the trigger is a disadvantage. It doesn't, like there's this, I don't know where it came from, but there's this crazy like opinion among drummers where that'll be like the first negative thing they say is like, oh, it's just triggers. But you mean, like, what do you mean it's just triggers? He's still playing. It's just a different sound.
Well, yeah, that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about some keyboard warriors. I think a lot of people like to talk about things in a negative way that they have no idea anything about it. And so it's not, to me, there's no point in arguing, because like you're arguing with someone who actually doesn't know, but they would rather just talk negative about it. And so to me, it's not worth my time to invest in a conversation with someone like that.
Yeah, 100%. I can't agree more with that for sure. So outside of the shells, what cymbals did you use on the record? Did you make any big changes from Dark Skies? Did you add some? What's going on there?
No. I used the same cymbal setup that I've been using for the past probably, I think, a year on the kit. Cool. I was using they're actually old hi-hats, but I love them. They're an old model, so they're all Meinl cymbals, and they're the MB20s. The Soundcaster, not Soundcaster. What is it? They're just rock hats. They're the MB20 rock hats, 14-inch. Then I used a 10-inch Byzance Brilliant Splash right above that. Then I used a 19-inch Byzance Medium Thin Crash above that.
Oh, I have that cymbal. I like that cymbal a lot.
It's so sick.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been using that one for a long time, and it's still one of my favorites. Then a 20-inch Brilliant Byzance Heavy Crash cymbal, which the Byzance Heavy is the series that MB20 became. What else? I used a heavy ride this time.
Oh, okay.
I used I think it was just the Byzance Heavy Ride, which if anyone has seen my kit or followed me or my drums for a while, like I had never really used a ride. I would use a crash or like the Benny Greb Sand Ride, which is very washy.
Yeah, I remember seeing you use that.
Yeah, well, I put it back on this kit actually.
Word.
Just to mess around with. What is this? This one's the oh, it's cracked. It's cracked. So I used a really heavy ride this time around because I don't know if you noticed on the last album, but we had some really pingy ride parts that were accompanied by really cool guitar riffs. It's kind of like dad riffs going on, you know?
Yep.
And this album has those as well. So I just sacked up and used a pingy ride. It was cool. And I didn't use a Byzance China for the first time. I used one of those, oh man, what is it called? It's the Classics Custom, I think.
Yeah, Classic Customs Metal China.
It's the metal China. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Dude, fortunately, I have a cool deal with them, and I would always go for the Byzance and the Byzance Heavy Chinas. They sound great. I still love them. Still would use them. But they sent me this one time because they were out of those, and I was like, definitely loved how it sounded, and it just never broke. I just rarely ever break them, and they sound insane. So even on recording, they sound phenomenal. So I just kept it in the studio, and it sounded cool.
Yeah, I like those cymbals. Anoop Sastry swears by that China. It feels like feel like no matter what cymbal setup he uses, because he's always changing it up. It's almost always he has that as his main China on the right side. It records really well.
I've never met him before. He seems like a nice guy. I've heard everyone kind of sing his praises and talk really highly of him.
Oh, dude, he's such a sweetheart. I had the privilege last year of doing a line check with him, and it was really it was just awesome. He's like, dude, I obsess over his playing. I can't stop watching his videos. He's such a tight drummer.
Yeah, he shreds. I've definitely seen countless videos from him, and he has great groove and very, very good flow when he plays drums.
So while we're on the topic of other drummers, something that I wanted to ask you was, and I guess this probably would have been a better question for earlier, but what are idols of yours? Like, what growing up were the big influences on you as you progressed?
The first one I mentioned earlier was Alex, the drummer of Seosin. Really was one of the first drummers where I was just like, whoa, what is this? Like, how does he play that fast? It sounded so cool from the beginning for me. I didn't have to really digest the band and then like the drummer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
So Alex from Seosin, I want to say I got my hand creativity from. And then another one would be Jordan Mancino from As I Lay Dying, which is, it's crazy how I'm touring with these bands now because of how they've influenced me. Jordan Mancino, when I think about him, I think about his power. He just is a powerhouse behind the kit. He's too fast for me. He plays stuff that's too fast, but he definitely encouraged me. I mean, I think anytime someone hears 94 hours for the first time, it's moving, you know? So that definitely encouraged me to pick up the double pedal. Along with all my friends that played music with me, they said, you have to learn this, and I couldn't learn it. But maybe there was one point in my life where I could play that.
I feel like when you get into that territory too, it's like you really have to start considering specific pieces of equipment, like more like the direct drive stuff, and I guess investing in like.
Well, dude, he uses DW 9000s.
No way! Wow.
Yeah, we just toured with them, and I watched him play it, and you know what's crazy is there's parts of the set where I can tell that he's really putting in a lot of effort to play, but that is not one of them. That just like is autopilot for him. It's weird. I guess he's been playing it for 12 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jordan Mancino was definitely a big influence. And then Aaron Gillespie definitely was a massive one. I was such a big Under Oath fan. And just his style was really cool and something that I really connected with. Once again, Aaron hits really hard, and he just has so much passion as he's playing the kit. And that was really cool to see. And it was so cool watching him play the drums. And it is put like a fire in me, just like, whoa, that's so cool. I want to go play right now. And not everyone that I watch gives me that kind of encouragement to go play. But I thought he was pretty good about incorporating his hands and his feet. But he wouldn't play anything that's just, holy crap, this is insane. He would play things that sounded so much fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's an element that I would like to incorporate in my own playing, is just something that's fun, something that when I sit down, this is like awesome. I love playing this. And I haven't been able to do that every song ever. Sometimes you play a part that fits what the song needs, and that's not the most fun thing, but no, everything that he writes just sounds like a blast. So yeah, those are some big influences, some bigger influences on my playing and why my playing is what it is.
Is there anything you wanna plug or talk about? Like, now that you're not doing the tour, what's going on for you guys? You just on, I guess, like a mini, like, very brief little hiatus, just chilling while this all blows over kind of thing, and then you'll sort of figure out what's next after that, or?
Yeah, so we were supposed to have this Dark Skies American tour, which unfortunately got postponed. Then after that, we were supposed to go to Japan in mid-April, but that is being figured out. I have no idea if we're going to go back to Japan. In May, we were supposed to do a full European headlining tour, and we're not sure if that's happening yet. We're not sure. It doesn't look promising right now.
Yeah.
So we could be potentially sitting here until the Dark Skies American postponed shows happen, which is in June. So if that's the case, I am just going to be playing drums. We'll probably start doing lessons online and do like Skype lessons or something like that. But I don't have a lot of plans yet. This is all really new for us. I haven't figured out what we're going to do. Yeah, so that's the $1 million question right now. I'm trying to just keep busy at home. Thank you for having me on Line Check. This is cool to talk, not just to tell people about myself and the band, but to catch up with you. I know we don't get to see each other too often. We're both pretty busy, but
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how I can fill my day right now. I've just been cleaning the house. Not really hanging out with anyone. I mean, last night I had whiskey night with my roommate.
Hell yeah!
I sipped whiskey, and it's funny that you ask, but we had whiskey night, and I watched reaction videos to our new song. So yeah, I watched yours, and it was cool. It got me excited to do this Line Check with you today.
Hell yeah, dude. Sick. Yeah, when we scheduled this, I had that video ready, and I was like, I have to make sure this is right near the Line Check so that it works for the clicks, works for the views. keep the traffic flowing, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Definitely.
Cool, man. Well, I'm really glad that you enjoyed that reaction video. Probably going to end up covering that song or maybe some of the other stuff as it comes out. I don't have that many toms though. We'll have to see about that.
Well, no, I actually, I didn't even mention this. I've already done a drum playthrough for it. It got mixed. I think it sounds awesome. So it's all of my drums just mixed by another guy.
Cool.
And it's being edited right now. So I'm gonna release that on YouTube. Maybe that's what I'll start doing. I need to start doing more YouTube videos instead of just posting links or clips for Instagram.
Yeah, man. So let everybody know where they can see those YouTube videos.
Yeah, my YouTube is just youtube.com/Jared Easterling.
Perfect.
It's my first and last name. Yeah, most everything else will just be on my Instagram, which is J_East42.
Awesome. And yeah, man, I guess that's pretty much it. I'm stoked to see the playthrough. You guys at home, make sure to go sub to him. I'll include links to his socials. If you aren't already on his socials, I'll include some links below. You can click through direct and hit subscribe and be notified when that playthrough drops, because I'm super stoked. There's some really cool parts of that song. I can't wait to see you perform it.
We are gonna be putting out some other singles. So if you weren't the biggest fan of Breaking the Mirror, the next song will not sound like that song. It'll be a different side of our band. So just be on the lookout for that.
So I want to close out with one more question, and I wasn't planning. I was planning on closing out here, but something that just came to mind based on what you said with that playthrough that I really wanted to ask. And this is the question that I forgot earlier, actually. And the question was this. So there's two philosophies when you go into live playing for a lot of different drummers. I guess some of them meet in the middle, but most of the time it's one of two things. There's a lot of guys like Matt Greiner who know everything almost note for note, and they roll with it exactly how it was recorded on record, and they do that night after night. And then there's guys like Matt Halpern who every night sort of keep to the basic snare placement or the groove, but they, new fills, like new ideas all the time, and letting that song evolve. Because Matt's talked a lot in the past about how he goes back at the end of a cycle, he'll go back and listen to a record, and he'll be astonished at the touring and how it's evolved the drums over the time. So where do you land on performing live? Are you strict to what's been written, or is there some improv in there as well?
I'd say I'm closer to Matt Halpern. I stick to pretty closely how it is recorded when we first start touring, and then I just instantly start feeling like there's different opportunities for different fills in certain sections. But there are important things to keep the same. Like there are bigger moments in the drums on some songs, and those have to stay the same, because if you change that, people will not feel the same way about the song like they remember it. And those are important moments that you have to keep the same. But at the same time, there are certain sections where if you change a couple hits, no one will notice a difference. But for some reason in your head, it feels better to play this here, or at the same time, I'm playing Breaking the Mirror on a 4-piece kit right now. On the playthrough video I just did, it's done on a 4-piece kit.
Okay.
Where like I just mentioned to you guys earlier, I'm using 3 rack toms and 2 floor toms, and I'm going to be using 2 kick drums pretty soon here. Like, it changes the way that you play certain parts. You can add the 10-inch rack tom to where you were only riding on the 12. So I definitely evolve things live, and I ask the guy's opinion after we play. I say, hey, did you hear that new drum fill that I did here or here? Sometimes they love it. Sometimes they're like, it kind of threw me off. Can you not do that? No problem. I like to keep playing new things. And sometimes there was this double kick part I wasn't adding in Price of Agony somewhere. And I kind of snapped at Kirby when he said something about it. He was like, yo, you mind if we add the kick part that's in the album? Like, can you keep that part in this song? And I was just I was self-conscious about it, because I was struggling to play it in rehearsal or something. So I changed it to a really fast hands part. And I was like, when he asked me to keep it to the record, I I was like, well, can you what's up with the high note you've been struggling on this song here? You know what I mean? And yeah, he was struggling with that part because it's a really high singing part. And he wasn't offended. He was like, yeah, no, man, I gotta start hitting that one better. But then I took a step back and I was just like, you know, he's not telling me to do that because he's not saying I'm bad. He's like, he just really likes that part. It's really cool to him and he wants to hear that live. So I just took that upon myself. I was like, all right, you're going to play this and you're going to practice it. You're not going to mess it up. You're going to have fun with it. You're going to go for it. You're not going to shy away from it every night. And he's noticed and he loves the part. And I noticed that he's been really trying to sing these high notes, you know, with more consistency. So yeah, that was probably the long answer.
Right on, dude. That was a great answer. That's a really great mindset that you took, where you kind of like, I guess, I don't know if this is the right word, but sort of took the high road approach and just sort of
I had to take ownership.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a much better way of stating it. So with all that said, I think this is a fantastic place to end it. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me. I love talking about drums. I love talking about, you know, little things that people don't know about. It's fun to share what I'm allowed to share. And it's fun talking with you because you're a great interviewer, great asking questions, and you have great blonde hair. So,
all right, guys, make sure to pick up Fit for a King merch. Links in the description, links to all of Jared's stuff, links to the band stuff, links to the new single. Check all that out. Thanks so much, dude. Let's call it here.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah.
Hopefully we can do another one again sometime.
Absolutely, for sure.